Oh yeah, we're back at it again. HP Prebuilt. ThatPaulGuy. Okay, so last week we took a look at this. It's an HP M01F1124. And I bought it at Best Buy. It was a pre-built with my birthday discount. I got it for just a shade under 600 bucks. It's got a Ryzen 5 4600G. It's 6-core, 12-thread with a built-in video. So there is no actual video card that comes in here. It's actually on the processor itself, which in a time like this is actually maybe an all right idea, but how good is it really? All right, so we did a little bit of checking, a little bit of benchmarking, and a little bit of trying to figure that out. And I figured the first thing we would do is we would go ahead and put more memory in it. This G-Skill Ripjaw 16 gig kit, 3200 speed. This is like everybody's best friend at the party. This stuff gets along well with everything, pretty much every configuration. There's no problems whatsoever that I've ever found so far getting this to run well in any BIOS, which leads me to the comment I'm about to make to HP and your BIOS. It's a dumpster fire. It's trash, it's garbage. As Dawid would say, it's poo-poo garbage. This, your BIOS, if you would have spent maybe, I don't know, $1 a unit in research and development, creating a better BIOS, it would have been probably pretty decent. But as it stands right now, this 3200 speed memory, when I swap it out for the 8 gig and the 4 gig stick that are in there that are mismatched, that do not really run well together, it kicked it back to 2133, which is the default, and there was no way whatsoever to adjust that in any way. In fact, the BIOS only gives you a couple of things you can select, and that's whether you can select to go ahead and have the access to the hard drive or SSD or whatever combination of input-output devices, and a couple little minor settings, and if you can change a password. That's it. There's no other. You can't adjust the clock speed on the CPU. You can't adjust clock speed on memory. You can't do hardly anything else. So it is, I mean, one of the most frustrating BIOSes I've ever seen, and it's kindergarten level. You know what? They made professionals made this BIOS, and you guys, somebody needs to smack somebody in the back of the head because it's that bad. Anyway, all of that being said, yes, now we've said it all because that's as much as I want to share with that. BIOS isn't the only problem with this if you're trying to upgrade or do anything. It has a PCI 16 slot for a video card. If you want to put a GPU in here, theoretically you can. One other problem with that, it's got a 180 watt power supply. That's barely enough to run everything that's in the computer. How are you going to put a video card? And they're saying, HP says that you can put a video card in like a lower tier model that doesn't have the exterior power output. Well, that's great, but this GPU or the video that's already on this CPU runs about as well as a GT 1050 anyway. So what are you going to have that's lower power than that? It's a poor design choice by HP, and they could have done better. However, all that being said, it's an all right machine. I can't really complain too much, but it's a brand new machine, so we figure we're going to test out some brand new titles. First up, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Now this was, we're just going to say, trying to play it at 1080p, a low frame of 18 frames per second in the benchmark. And I just ran straight benchmarks on these. I didn't want to try to do anything special. It goes from 1080p low to even with the memory being downclocked at 2133. It's still, because you've got matched and a dual channel pair in there, it brings it up to 36 frames per second, which is playable at 720p. You can get about 28. I don't remember what the chart says here, but you can get a playable frame rate at 900p, and that's probably the way I'd go, a 900p on low settings. Then we moved to Dirt 5. Dirt 5 took it from, on auto, it set it automatically at 1080p, 16 frames per second, which is rough. up to a very playable 40 frames per second at 720p. And again, 900 is not too bad. I would say you'd be able to play that at about 30 frames per second. That's not too bad at all. Borderlands 3 took you from a low of 1080p at 26, which is almost playable. But anything that goes on, a lot of stuff going on the screen is going to make it dip down quite a bit. And then it take it up to, at 720p, it's 47%. That was the surprise, because that only increased things about 7% in performance, where the other ones were, between 15 and 20 or so on the average. And then I took a look at Far Cry 5 and CSGO, but only on one resolution, and was also able to get some decent improvement there. So I think it was well worth putting the RAM in. But if I try to go back and order from HP that other 8 gig RAM stick to have 16 in here that would match and that would see it as 3200 speed, HP is asking anywhere from, on any site I saw, anywhere from $160 to $329 for an 8 gig stick. That's half the cost of the computer. Why? Somebody needs to pull their hat out of whatever orifice it's stuck in, because that's just, no, you can't. And I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to sell an inexpensive unit, they get it out the door, but spend just that one more dollar or two on improving the whole product stack, and I think you got something going. I did go back and I looked at CPU-Z, because I had an anomaly in the first review, and especially with a single core. So I went back and looked at it, and I have to correct myself, because I believe I said that it was as good or a little bit better than a 1600, a Ryzen 5 1600. It actually is a little bit better than a Ryzen the 1700X. So, but that's the CPU itself. So there has been quite an improvement. I think with the better memory, and if there was some way to put a better video card, this would actually be a pretty good little computer. You can't, however, get a stock PSU for this, because HP's proprietary motherboard also has two 4-pin plugs, and their little custom plug that no other regular power supply has. So I get that you're trying to make things as cheaply, as inexpensively as they can. No, no. To anybody that's looking for a pre-built that just wants a standard computer and wants something that's going to be a decent computer, this is fine. If you're looking for anything to upgrade, my suggestion is look a little bit harder and get something from maybe iBuyPower or somebody like that, that has standard parts that you could swap out and upgrade. I did go ahead and find another source on memory. It's the 8 gig stick. I'm going to go ahead and buy another one. That's actually already on order. We're going to see how it looks, if it will read it at the 3200 speed, and if it will match up, and we can go ahead and run these tests again and see what happens. But in the meantime, you might notice that there is another HP Prebuilt sitting right here beside this one. This one, we're going to compare the brand new one to the older one. This one's from about 2008, and in its heyday, it was the boss. It does have standard parts from that time, and so I will be able to upgrade those parts, and we will see just how this old 12, 13-year-old unit compares to this brand new unit. And I'm going to run the same test to see if there's any difference. We're going to put a quad-core CPU in here. I guess this was 6-core, and we're going to fire away and see what happens. See if we can get any better results out of the old HP Prebuilt as opposed to the new one. And so money might be better spent on getting something a little bit older and trying to upgrade it, but we're going to find that out in the next video. Anyway, that's all I got for right now, folks. Do all those internet things, YouTube. Hit like if you like it, dislike if you didn't, but kind of let me know why, because I need to know what to improve. Please subscribe. Trying to hit 200 by the summer. I would love to hit it by my birthday. Not going to tell you when that is. But anyway, if you like it at all, please go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe. And until next time, I'll see you later.